Tigers today as well. LSU might be on my card as well. I do like that number at minus 114. All right, let's get to a team that went nowhere near their over last year, Texas A&M. The Aggies, one of the more polarizing teams in the country, and I think heading into this season, maybe the most intriguing team in the country, maybe the most intriguing team certainly in this conference. It was a 5-7 season for Jimbo Fisher in 2022, 2-6 in the SEC. Texas A&M started 3-1, including wins over Miami and Arkansas. Lost their last 6 games. They surrendered 42 points to Mississippi State. They surrendered 30 to South Carolina, Ole Miss, 41 to Florida, as this team struggled mightily defensively despite a lot of 5 stars. You look at this team, Lucas, they bring back their quarterback. It's Connor Wigmore, who was pretty impressive as a true freshman, threw for almost 900 yards, 9 touchdowns in kind of intermittent action there. The skill positions are really, really good. The wide receivers, you have Anaya Smith, you have Moose Muhammad, Evan Stewart. The running back room, they expect to be pretty deep there. You get all 5 starters back on the offensive line. It is an offense that struggled last year. 101st in scoring offense, 93rd in total offense. They bring in Bobby Petrino. DJ Durkin's the defensive coordinator. There's just so many fascinating storylines for this Texas A&M team. There's a ceiling where they win this division, and there's a floor where Jimbo Fisher is fired before Halloween. Like, it's a wide range of outcomes for Texas A&M. What are your thoughts on the Aggies this year?
It was weird. So obviously some context for our audience. So last night when I was doing my write-up of Texas A&M, I don't know if this was a good omen for them. While I was writing it, I have a keyboard for my iPad and it needs to be charged because it's not like battery powered or anything. And it literally died while I was writing this write-up. And this was after I had texted Ryan and our friend Blaine in our group chat, who is a very big Texas A&M fan, saying I'm feeling actually kind of high on Texas A&M, and right after that the keyboard died. So maybe maybe that was a sign from the gods. But like last year, I mean, A&M, you could make an argument, might be just as talented as the 2 teams ahead of them in LSU and Alabama. You mentioned they're bringing 20 guys back who started games for them last year. Obviously, Connor Wigmore. They'll have good depth there because Max Johnson, who started a handful of games for them last year, is back as the backup. If Anaya Smith can play, if he's not having off the field issues and things like that, brings another element to that wide receiver room that was really young last year. And you saw a couple of those really touted defensive line prospects from that 22 class last year really come up big with Shamar Stewart and Walter Nolan. Both of them started games towards the end of the year, and they're back. They'll be starting. They also, I thought, improved their secondary, getting guys like Tony Grimes for UNC, Josh DeBerry from Boston College. Those guys have started 20-plus games at the Power 5 level, and Josh DeBerry's not even expected to start for them, which I think just shows you the depth that they have there. My biggest thing is just, can Jimbo get it together, and will he let Bobby Petrino, off the field stuff aside, can coach an offense pretty well.
Yeah.
And will Jimbo let him kind of have the keys and not interfere? I think those are my biggest questions, because the talent's there, man. I'm really high on the talent. It's just, will the coaches not kind of get in their own way of this team? And will just A&M just kind of stop being like unlucky? Their history doesn't say that. It says anytime they have expectations, there is usually room for disappointment. But it is, like you mentioned, A&M, the variance on this team is just insane. But it just shows just how talented they actually are.
Yeah, they've recruited really well. Not even the 22 class that was number 1 in the country. I think they had 3 or 4 top 5 classes before that. You had a lot of players exit the program last year. Denver Harris, right? We talked about him with LSU. Anthony Lucas. Several really high profile members of that recruiting class are gone. The benefit of that, hey, listen, maybe you got the bad eggs out of the locker room, and this team is uber talented. They're uber deep. Just inconsistent, right? They were the number 1 passing defense in the league. They were 123rd against the run. They were 106th in sacks last year, with all those 5 stars on the defensive line. That just it feels like something is off there. Lucas is the vibes guy on the pod. I don't know what the vibes are going to be, and we'll find out pretty early what the vibes are be because I think week two
Mhm.
isn't their season against Miami, but we are going to know quickly how this is going to go, right? Like we are going to know quickly. So you look at the schedule here. They open against New Mexico, week 2 at Miami. Rest of the non-conference is UL Monroe week 3, and then Abilene Christian in November. Home games in conference are Auburn, Arkansas. That game is in Jerry's World. Counts as a road game actually for Texas A&M. Alabama, South Carolina, Mississippi State. Only 3 true road games in conference. They'll go Tennessee, Ole Miss, and LSU, in addition to Miami. Lucas, the over/under is 8.5. The over is plus 146. The under is minus 180. You said you were feeling pretty good about the Aggies. Just how good are you feeling about the Aggies? 9
Feeling
wins good?
so, no, I'm feeling about 8 wins good, so I'm going to take the
Okay.
under. I think I was going to take the over before the football gods shut off. Made me have to rethink that decision while my iPad was charging. But no, I'm just going to go with under one. I think them going 8-4 would probably be an improvement considering they were 5-7 a year ago. You mentioned that the Miami game being kind of a trendsetter. That's going to be a trendsetter for Miami too. So I'm interested to see how they come out. I just, once again, like you said, the vibes guy. I didn't love the vibes coming out of spring ball when Jimbo was asked like 20 times if Bobby Petrino was going to be calling the plays, and he could never give them a straight answer. He still wasn't doing it over media day. Because, like we said, like when you bring in a new coordinator, they're going to want to put their stamp, everything kind of move towards their scheme a little bit. And what happens in those first maybe after they play Auburn and the offense maybe isn't gelling early, is Jimbo going to come in and interfere? And you mentioned it too. Like, yes, they do have. I mentioned they have studs on that defensive line, but if they're going to be as bad as they were last year against the run, they're not even going to come close to that 8.5 number. So I think they do steadily improve this year, but 8-4 to me is more likely than 9-3, especially when one of your crossover games is going to be on the road at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville.
Yeah, I'm when I pick these, especially when I bet these, I'm very much like a you got to prove it to me first before I'm going to believe in you. And I do not believe that Texas A&M, like you said, I think 8-4 would be a good season. I don't know if Texas A&M fans would think that's a good season. I'm on the under as well. Um, I do think that there's again there's 2 scenarios. If you look at the first 5 games of the year, New Mexico at Miami, UL Monroe, Auburn, Arkansas. That's a pretty favorable first 5. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a path where they're 5-0. They host Alabama on October 7th, and it's the SEC game of the week, and game day's there, and who knows, right? Next week you do go at Tennessee, which is challenging. You get Alabama, Tennessee back to back, which is not easy. So, but there's also a path where you lose at Miami, you lose to Auburn or Arkansas, and you get blown out by Alabama, you get blown out by Tennessee, and Jimbo gets fired in their bye week on October 21st. So